Hey, it's Mark Wing, the Outdoor Nerd, and I'm here with the Lumintop SD4A LED flashlight. Now, as its name suggests, this model takes 4 common AA batteries. It can also take rechargeables. I recommend any loops, which are nickel metal hydride, nickel cadmium as well. Now, the model they sent me, or the version they sent me, has a Cree XPL emitter. Now, there's also a version with an XML2, which is a lot more floody. This one has some pretty good throw. Now it's got a electronic switch panel here, separate switch for mode and power, and it even has a backlit LED on the power switch. Other than that, it's pretty much standard stuff. Smooth reflector. You can see the nice anti-reflective coating. I'll open it up so you can see the battery cage here. So they sent it to me with 4 Duracells in there, which I call Alkaleaks, but hey, they were free. So it seems like this model is very similar to other 4 AA models on the market. Now on the right is the battery cage for my Sunwayman D40A, which I've been carrying a couple years. And on the left is the battery cage for the SD4A. Now they're pretty similar. I think the Sunwayman is built a little better. It seems rugged. Notice the little beams are thicker on the Sunwayman. I think the springs are a little better on the Sunwayman. But other than that, this is a pretty much standard battery cage for a flashlight of this type. If you notice, it can be inserted either way, which is nice. So it's a kind of built-in reverse polarity protection. And other than that, it's pretty standard. And it seems to be well built. Now the Sunwayman D40A has been one of my favorite flashlights for a long time, so the first thing I set out to do with the SD4A is compare the two. Now the first thing I noticed is the Sunwayman is a bit longer and a little narrower. You can see the SD4A is a little bit fatter. These are similar type flashlights, but there's some pretty good differences with them. They both have smooth reflectors, but notice the D40A has a much deeper reflector than the SD4A. So, and it's mostly flood. Which leads me to the next difference, which is the throw. The SD4A is just an awesome thrower. It's got a really tight hotspot, probably due to the small die XPL, where the Sunwayman here has an XML2 emitter in it. Now Lumintop makes a version of the SD4A with an XML2 emitter, so I'd expect them to be a lot more similar than the two I'm comparing. Both of them have a similar switch panel with a separate switch for power and mode. I've never liked the D40A switch. It just doesn't have a really good feel to it, and it's hard to find in the dark. You know, you can pick the flashlight up in the dark and just kind of feel around for the switch. It's easy to miss them. So even though it's one of my favorite flashlights, I've never liked the switch. Now the SD4A, I like the switches a lot better on this one. It's a similar panel, but this has raised rubberized switches. Now the power switch has a green LED backlit for it. And other than that, they're fairly similar. The SD4A has much thicker cooling fins, you can see. I like the cooling fins much better on the SD4A. The D40A is no slouch, but I think the SD4A cools better. Not that either of these flashlights really have much problem cooling. The battery cages, as I pointed out, are fairly similar. I'd give the edge to the Sunwayman. Like I said, both of them have a smooth reflector, anti-reflective coating. Both of them have a lot of modes, including what I call disco modes, which are strobe, beacon, SOS, modes like that. It also has a moonlight mode, just like the D40A, which is awesome. So I'm a big fan of moonlight modes. So yeah, those are some of the key differences. The main difference is that this SD4A has a lot more throw to it than the D40A. But other than that, the performance, output, modes, everything like that are fairly similar. The build quality on the SD4A is pretty good. I especially like the job they did on the knurling. The triangular cut threads are nice and clean. The aluminum stock is a little thinner than I'd like to see, but this is only a $50 flashlight, so I think they did a good job balancing build quality with cost. I really like how they did the cooling fins. Everything else is pretty much standard. The reflector looks good. AR coating looks good. Emitter. They seem to do a good job with everything. They especially did a good job with the switch panel here. I love these switches, and I think that other manufacturers should take note. It's got a nice steel bezel, and you can see there's no irregularities with the way the bezel meets the head here. See, the gap's pretty consistent as you turn it. The battery cage, it's well built. I think they could use a little room for improvement, but this is a $50 flashlight, so the battery cage is built well. I like to pick on the cheap screws that they all have, but there's probably not a big odds that you'd be taking it apart. So yeah, I think overall on build quality they did a good job. I think this is pretty good for a $50 flashlight, and I've certainly got a crush on it. The fit and finish on my review sample is pretty good overall. I think the anodizing's maybe a little thin. That's really my only gripe. It's got a couple small nicks in the anodizing. Let's see if I can find one. See, there's a little nick right there. But other than that, this is a good sample, and they did a pretty good job. All the stuff I normally look for, like a well-centered emitter, which it looks to be, machine-centered. The reflector looks nice and smooth. No glitches or aberrations or anything like that. Lens coating looks good. As I pointed out, where the stainless steel bezel meets the head here, that looks pretty good. The machining's nice and tight. The cooling fins are cut pretty good. Taking it apart, everything else I look for, nothing wrong with the battery cage. Batteries sit nice and good. Really no rattle. Threads look good, as you can see with the camera. They're lubed, and it's got a nice O-ring here, so this thing should be good and watertight. Machining of the body itself looks good. The head looks good. I'm not sure if I like the spring. It's a little small, but it's stiff, so it should probably be okay. But yeah, the threads in the head are cut nice and precise. You can see that it's nice and well lubed. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the fit and finish on this model, on this review sample rather. This model has a lot of modes, so hopefully I won't screw this up. Alright, here we go. To get turbo, you double click the power switch from off, and it goes into turbo, steps down after a couple seconds, and then you can see the neat little backlit green LED here, which I believe is the only mode that it goes on in. I'm sure it also comes on if the battery's getting low, which I haven't ran this down on batteries yet. Okay, so you turn the flashlight off. Now from off position, if you hold the power switch, it turns on the moonlight mode, and you can see the nice constant current moonlight mode, no PWM or anything. Good job, all light. And you turn it off. Whoa. And then from off position you hold the mode switch, and that gives you the tactical strobe. So there's a few different ways to access modes. Now with the flashlight on, you hold down the mode switch and you get the beacon mode. Oh, there's the green light. I can't seem to figure out exactly when this green light turns on and off, but it looks cool. So here's the beacon mode. Let me if I turn it off. Okay, from on, if you hold the power button, you get the SOS mode. And then if you just want to turn it on and off with normal modes, you turn it on, and just cycle through the low, medium, high, and turbo. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully I didn't miss any. If I did, then check out my online review. Now the tint on this, I guess I would best describe as cool white with the neutral white hotspot. And as you can see, it's got a really tight hotspot. And you can also see a little bit of rings around the edges, which is pretty much normal for a smooth reflector. Overall, I think it has a decent tint. Now, one benefit of taking so long to get to these Lumintop reviews is that I've had a lot of time to play with this SD4A, and it has a lot of modes. It has a lot of features, so I'm glad I took my time with it. Overall, I like it a lot. I love the switch panel. It's got the best feel on the switches of probably any flashlight I've ever reviewed. Everything else is good. The stainless steel bezel, the knurling's good. I love the cooling fins, LED, reflector, lens. It's all there and it's all good. The thing I like about this the best is that it has a lot of throw for a flashlight of this size due to the XPL emitter, which puts out a lot of throw. It's actually pretty impressive. So this is definitely one I'm keeping, and it's kind of my new precious.